Hi everyone and welcome back. Today I'm just wanting to chat a bit about physical books versus Kindles. In case you're thinking about buying a Kindle and wanted to know what it was like in comparison to the good old-fashioned hard copy. So the way I'm going to discuss this is through the feel of each, the readability of each, and then the pricing. And then right at the end, I'm just going to share my recommendations and thoughts overall on which I prefer. And if you find it helpful, then feel free to leave a like on the video. So first off, I wanted to just talk about the feel of books versus Kindles, because I think a lot of people that I know even they're hesitant to move to an e-reader because they think they prefer the feel of a real physical book. You know, like the feel in your hands, the smell you get, you know, the experience of turning the pages. Like you just can't get that on an e-reader, and I totally understand that. But I think a lot of that is really nostalgia. Like growing up, I remember borrowing a bunch of library books from my local library and taking them home and reading through them. And I think that's a lot of what the feel of books is. Whereas with a Kindle, it has its own unique feel. Like I think the back is quite nice. It's quite nice and soft. The front doesn't feel like a digital, like a smartphone screen. It doesn't feel like a tablet screen. It feels kind of a bit paperish, and it's not so offensive, I guess. And so I think it's kind of just something that is a matter of just getting used to. Overall, I would say once you get used to the feel of a Kindle, you don't really miss the feel of a book too much. I think a book obviously has the slight edge in terms of, you know, it's physical, it's got pages, and it's got that sort of romantic edge to it, I think. But once you get used to a Kindle, like, there's not a massive competition. So overall, I'd probably have to say that the physical book wins the feel, but just by a small margin. So this leads me into my next section, which is about readability. I'm going to break it down into 3 sections. So I'm going to talk about the note-taking and highlighting, the ease of access, and the text itself. So first with the note-taking and highlighting, with physical books, I often like to get a pencil or a highlighter and just underline and highlight passages I find really interesting. And then I'll just write a note, usually in the back somewhere, you know, on a blank page at the back. Just with the page number and reference, so I can easily flip back and look through it whenever I want to. But I think the main problem with this for me is that if I'm out and about with the book, I don't always have a pen with me or a highlighter, and so oftentimes I just won't be able to highlight anything just because I don't have a pen with me. But the advantage with the Kindle is that because it's digital, it doesn't matter where you are, even if you don't have a pen, all you need to use is your finger and you can create a highlight. You can type a note on the screen as well, and it's just super convenient because anytime I want to, I can take a note. I think the only real downside with taking notes on the Kindle is that the screen isn't as responsive as like a regular smartphone or tablet, and so typing long notes can be a bit tedious because each button press takes a lot longer than a regular keyboard. But the advantage of this obviously is that you can link your Kindle to your Goodreads account, and so every time you take a note or you create a highlight, it automatically gets synced over to your Goodreads, and then anytime you want to look through your notes and highlights, you just log into your Goodreads account on your desktop and you can have a look, which is really handy. So next up, talking about ease of access, I think the best thing for me about physical books is just the fact that you can flip through them so quickly and easily. Like if you want to get to a certain chapter, you know, you're straight there. It doesn't take any time at all. Whereas with the Kindle, it's a little bit more time consuming and tedious. You have to go to the menu, you have to go to the table of contents, you have to select the chapter, and then you have to go one by one through the pages until you find the spot you're looking for, unless it's already bookmarked. And so I think in that regard, physical books have definitely got the edge over the Kindle. However, for me, I think really the only times I'm wanting to flip through a book easily if I'm wanting to show a friend like a passage or a quote out of a book. And so generally I think in the end it's still easier to have my Kindle with me, because if I'm out and about and I want to show a friend a quote or a passage, you know, I can take like 30 seconds to look it up on the Kindle, which is much more convenient than having to lug around books for the off chance that I might want to show a friend something. And the other thing obviously to think about is the fact that books take up a lot of space, they're very heavy, which I rediscovered recently when I moved. And so again, the Kindle, you can store hundreds, probably thousands of books on a single Kindle. So for space and access, it's just so much better on a Kindle. And so finally we have the text itself within the books. I think it's a pretty easy win for the Kindle, to be honest, just because Reading the text on the Kindle screen does feel very similar to reading the text in a paper book, but it's got the advantage of the fact that you can actually change the font and the font size if you want to, so it makes it even easier to read the text. Whereas obviously with a physical book, it is what it is, it's printed how it's printed. And even I find at times the fact that the page is curved a little bit makes it, kind of a little bit awkward to read, whereas at least with the Kindle, it's always on a flat screen, it's straight in front of you, so it makes it super easy to read. So I think for me, I prefer the Kindle screen reading experience over a physical book, to be honest. And so lastly, I just wanted to discuss a bit about the pricing. In Australia, the Kindle Paperwhite, which is the Kindle that I have, is $1.99. And the average book, I would say, in a retail shop would be between $15 and $30. So a Kindle's basically the equivalent of buying 10 books, which I think is not that bad really if you think about it. But I think the main thing to consider is how much of a reader you are and how many books you're going to buy in a given space of time. For me, as a heavy reader, I read between 30 and 50 books a year, and so it makes sense for me, I think, because a lot of Kindle books are cheaper than physical books, which makes sense because you're not buying a physical thing, you're just buying a digital copy of a book. And so on average, I'd say Kindle books are around $5 cheaper than hard copy books. And so if you were to buy around 40 Kindle books, for example, and you save $5 on each one, then you've paid for the Kindle, in itself on the money that you saved on buying books. And so I think if you're looking to save money and you read a lot of books, then Kindle is definitely the way to go. And so as you've probably figured out by now, I definitely recommend the Kindle over the physical books, particularly if you're a heavy reader or a more intense reader, then it's definitely really a no-brainer. You'll save a lot of money, it's super easy to carry around, and it's just really easy to use, and I really enjoy it. I've had mine for maybe around 6 months now, and I've just been loving it. I'm definitely not going to go back to physical books as my dominant source of reading. So if you're interested in picking one up, I've got an affiliate link down in the description, so feel free to check that out. Other than that, feel free to subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.